What's going on, guys? Boss6 here, back to a video, and today here to give you guys yet another album review. And this one I was somewhat anticipating because I sorry about that. I was somewhat anticipating this album considering that I just reviewed or ranked all of their albums about a year or so ago, and I was somewhat anticipating this album. Sorry, I got distracted by something. But anyways, I'm here to talk about a pretty big album that did get released this month. Probably the biggest album that's going to be released so far this year. And of course is the new Kreator. Excuse me, I just got done eating. The new Kreator with Krushers of the World. That's spelled with a K because fuck it, why not? Anyways, this comes out on the 16th of January on Nuclear Blast Records. This, I think this might be their 17th studio album, I want to say. I should have written that down. I do apologize for that. I believe this is their 17th studio album. Let me check. Come on, fucking load. I hate this laptop so goddamn much. This shit doesn't want to load, also because my internet sucks. Come on, I have an audience that are waiting in anticipation. Thank you. This is their 16th studio album. Alright, I knew it was around that range. So yeah, this is their 16th studio album, and it's been formed in Germany in 1982, and these guys are considered one of the more well-known German acts, especially in the thrash scene, because, you know, you got your classic German thrash bands, like obviously this band, Sodom, Destruction, if you want to throw in Tankard, Holy Moses, so on and so forth. But these guys are probably the biggest band that come out of Germany in terms of the thrash scene, and it's still hard to understand why, considering that these guys have been touring arenas, festivals, so on and so forth, and now that Sodom seemed to be taking a hiatus for the time being, Kreator's basically stepped up to become one of the biggest bands going to this very day, and that's not really a bad thing per se. Now, I did say at the beginning, before I started acting fucking weird, I did rank all of these all the band's albums. So if you want to go ahead and check out my thoughts on all the albums in particular, feel free to let me know. And ever since, I want to say Phantom Antichrist, you know, the band's starting to go into a bit of a more melodic direction, let's just say. Like, they're really incorporating the big epic melodies, if you will, but also kind of still trying to incorporate that more thrashy sound that they have in tow. And, well, let's talk about the album now, shall we? We'll start off with the opening track, Seven Serpents, which I think was their first single that they released. And I've heard some mixed reviews on it, and I listened to it, and, well, if you love Hate Uber Alles, which I know some people do, even though I ranked it a little bit towards the middle, it's basically kind of the same, although this song kind of reminds me a little bit more of Gods of Violence, personally. With the big, like, epic melodies and all that stuff, you know, like the big, like, melodeath kind of, like, arch enemy kind of vibes that I'm getting off of this one. And that's basically, like, the first 4 tracks, I would say in particular, like, that song, and I would say the title track as well. Even though the title track is more mid-tempo based, you still get the more epic choruses and, like, strings and melodies and all that stuff. But you also get kind of the more aggressive riffs combined with those melodies, especially on the second track, Satanic Anarchy. Like the big chunky riffs on the beginning of that song, then it gets to the epic chorus, the strings, again, the more arch enemy kind of melodies that they're going for. And I have kind of complained about that in the past. And while I still am not a huge fan of it, I understand why they're doing it, but it doesn't bother me in the outset. Then we get to Planets. I think that's how you say it. I severely apologize. This features Bretta Gertz, who I don't know where that person is from, unfortunately. But this talks about Suspiria. If you guys know the Suspiria film, there was a big remake that came out, I believe, in 2018, but I believe the original film is back in the 70s. It's like an Italian horror film or like an Italian thriller in a way. I haven't seen the remake in a while. I know that when I first watched it, I really dug it, but I haven't watched it in a while. And I don't think I've ever seen the original film, I believe. But I think Scarlett Johansson in that movie? It might have been someone else. My mind's blanking right now. I do firmly apologize for that. But yeah, this talks about Suspiria. It has like the little ditty for the Suspiria theme at the beginning, which I really did like. Again, the more epic melodies, which that kind of fits on this song in particular, in my opinion, because at least with Suspiria, there's something about that movie that has like a bit of an epic vibe to it. But then we get into track 5, and this is when things start to get pretty damn good, in my opinion. We get to the track Barbarian. Big, thrashy, meat potatoes bastard. Really reminds me some off of the aforementioned Phantom Antichrist, which I really, really, really dig. It's one of my favorite songs on the entire album. Then we get Blood Over Blood, almost Slayer-like dive bombs at the beginning. Then we get the more epic chorus, which I'll talk about a little bit more when I get into my negatives, but that song I really, really, really dig. Combatants, which is the 7th song, more mid-tempo bass, but this actually has a very catchy chorus. I actually really do like this chorus in particular. Like, it's, it's anthemic, it's nice, it's cool. But this song kind of fits on that one in particular. Then we get to a Psychotic Imperator. Nice epic melodic setup, and then it gets to stuff that really reminds me of stuff off of Enemy of God, like the more of a kind of mid-tempo kind of groove to it. Kind of reminds me of Suicide Terrorist a little bit in a way, like the more kind of groovy kind of mid-tempo kind of style that they go for on this song. Then we get to a Death Scream. This song kind of reminds me of Horde to Chaos, personally, like that big riffy bastard that I really, really do like. Then we get to a Loyal to the Grave. This is more of a heavy metal kind of song in a way, but with a bit of a Kreator spin on it. A lot of Judas Priest-like vibes. And honestly, I don't mind this being the closer, in my opinion, because at least this one really does end the album off on a pretty good note. So, the positives I do want to say about this album is that this actually isn't produced by Arthur Risk. This is actually produced by the always busy as hell Jens Bogren. And I do like this production a little bit more than Hate Überaus, only because this album has a little more beef and chunk to the guitars. Where I saw the last album, I thought the guitars, sounded fine, but they didn't have a lot of meat to them. This is where the guitars kind of got beefed up a little bit, and I really do like this one. Also, the production sounds pretty good. Midlay still sounds pretty good on most of the tracks here. And I do think this is a bit of an upgrade from Hate Überaus, but that also leads into my nitpicks I have with this album. I guess my other kind of positive is that this album is almost like 45 minutes long, so it's not as long as I thought it was going to be. But then we get into the nitpicks I have with this album. Number one, I felt like they should have switched up the track order for this one. Like, kind of the perfect balance of nice melodic and themic, catchy song, but followed with a thrashy barn burner. Like, I felt like maybe Satanic Anarchy could have started off the album, and then you follow that up with Barbarian, and then the next track's the title track, and you follow that up with Combatants, then Seven Serpents, and then Blood Over Blood, so on and so forth. Like, this, I felt like the track order could have been switched, and I felt like the album would have flowed a little bit better, if you ask me, because you have to have that perfect balance of, like, ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows. The other thing I kind of I do have a nitpick about is that Millie on some tracks, it sounds like his voice his voice is kind of too gruff to be doing some like clean choruses or more like catchy moments. Like except for psychotic infantry or not that one combatants. Except for that song, all the other times he's trying to do like the catchy chorus, it sounds a little bit off. It sounds like his voice is strained, and it kind of feels like he's forcing it. Which, that's not really a bad thing, but considering his age and the fact he's been screaming his ass off since Endless Pain, back in like the early '80s, his voice is starting to age a little bit here. And also, the main nitpick I do have with this album, I know a lot of people kind of do nitpick about this album as well, or just this band as of lately. The more modern stuff, at least in my eyes, is not as memorable as like their 2000s output or even like their early 80s to their late 80s to early 90s stuff. Like from Endless Pain to Como Souls, that was like a damn near flawless run they have. And then when Violent Revolution came all the way to Phantom Antichrist, that was another damn good stretch of albums right there. But ever since Gods of Violence, I felt like this band has just been putting out some solid but not really fantastic work. Like, this is not a bad album. I'm just going to say this right here, right now. This is not a bad album. This is an overall good album, but not great. It's kind of middle of the road, if you ask me. Like, I think this is a bit of a step up than Hey Uber Alice. But my problem is that they rely a little too much on the more, anthemic kind of Arch Enemy-like vibes. Like, if I want to listen to Arch Enemy, I'll want to listen to Arch Enemy, but done well, not the kind of the more modern stuff. Like, we're listening to the early stuff. With Kreator, I want those thrashy riffs back, man. Like, Enemy of God, Violent Revolution, Coma of Souls, Pleasure to Kill, Terrible Certainty, Extreme Aggression. I want those riffs back. The stuff that they're doing now is not necessarily bad, but to me, I kind of do miss those big thrashy moments. So, while this is not a bad album, I will give this overall a 3.5 stars. It kind of feels like the band are just kind of coasting at this point, in my opinion. I do think they do have one big badass album lined up for them, though. I really do think that. But overall, aside from a handful of tracks, this just kind of feels like more of the same than Hey Uber Alice, in my opinion. Not bad, but not great, but it's also still a good album. Like, we're not like back in the 90s where they were just cranking out dog shit groove metal. This is some solid work, but it doesn't really feel like it's Kreator sometimes. So, it's not bad. The guys are still really damn good musicians. I just kind of wish they would just kind of go back to the thrashy stuff a little bit, at least in my personal opinion. So, yeah. And if I were to rank this one on my Kreator ranking, probably rank this like maybe number 10, maybe just a little bit above. Like this and Hey Uber Alice are kind of interchangeable, but I think I like this one a little bit more because at least there was a little more memorable songs on this album. But again, they're kind of more of the same in my opinion. So yeah, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. It's not bad, but they've made better albums beforehand. So folks, that concludes my review of Kreator's Krushers of the World. What did you guys think about this album? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment, tap the big red subscribe button, and tap the bell so when I upload, you guys will be notified. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and most importantly, join the herd. Till you guys next video. Peace out.